This is The Broken Shift with Nurse Natalie. Healthcare doesn't break in chaos, it breaks quietly. An anonymous nurse shared a story that starts like a standard safety report and turns into something that feels like a Netflix documentary. Not because it's dramatic, because the system's response is predictable. This nurse reported a clinical coordinator for behavior that felt dangerous, suspicious, and escalating. A patient was harmed. And the nurse did what hospitals claim they want. They reported it with evidence. Not opinions, not vibes. Evidence. Raw machine data, charts, text messages, emails. The nurse believed it was undeniable. The kind of report that forces action. But leadership didn't respond with urgency. Leadership responded with protection. The nurse describes a director who had been covering for this person for a long time, making excuses, minimizing what happened, and getting angry at the nurse for speaking up. That's where this story actually begins. Can you believe it? Not with the harmful behavior. With the system's decision to protect it. After the report, things became tense and pretty icy. Then, in a group chat with leadership included, the coordinator asked the nurse for a favor. What do you think she asked? It was something the nurse legitimately could not do. And the coordinator exploded, threatened the nurse if they did not comply. In writing. Leadership did not intervene in the group chat. Nope. Instead, the director privately messaged the nurse. Just ignore her. Has anyone experienced anything like this? Drop it in the comments and let that sit for a second. A nurse reports dangerous behavior, then gets threatened, and leadership's response is ignore her. The nurse also explains why the threat felt real. 2 other employees had already been pushed out after this coordinator allegedly sabotaged equipment, shredded documentation, and made work unbearable. Seems like a lot, right? Case closed. So what happened to those nurses? They quit. So when this nurse says, I didn't feel safe, it isn't drama. It's pattern recognition. She's seen it before. Yeah. So the nurse escalated the situation to HR and the CNO, the chief nursing officer. They brought evidence again, and they were dismissed. The hospital investigated and found nothing. Nada. Even though, according to this nurse, leadership knew there were serious licensure-related red flags already on record. The nurse drew a line and said, I don't feel safe working with her. I'm not coming back if she's still here. What do you think about that? What would you say? The hospital's response was not protection. It was punishment. They essentially told the nurse, you're not rehirable unless you return and comply, including returning to work alongside the person you reported. Oh yes, that's what they told her. That is how retaliation often works in healthcare. If you've seen it, drop a stethoscope in the comments. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's administrative. Sometimes it's future opportunities quietly taken away. If you're comfortable sharing your story, please drop it in the comments. I would love to hear it. So, to continue, months later, the coordinator disappeared for hours. Then she was found in a secluded area of the hospital in a state of clear impairment and medical distress. According to the nurse, she was found blue-lipped while inhaling nitrous oxide in the same type of clinical space she was supposed to support. She was not caught by leadership. She was caught by another nurse. And only then was she fired. Let that sit. Even then, the hospital allegedly urged her to self-report so the hospital wouldn't have to report her. Well, they knew already. This is the part that should make every viewer very uneasy. It wasn't just that unsafe behavior happened. It's that the institution kept it in place until it became impossible to hide. That doesn't sound like the way the system's supposed to work. And after termination, the story takes another turn. Can you believe it? There's more. The former coordinator allegedly returned to the facility, entered the same area again, interfered with equipment, and collapsed. Then fled before authorities could arrive. Now, law enforcement was looking for her. Yes, that same coordinator came back. And the anonymous nurse who warned them from the beginning, still labeled as a problem, still not rehirable, even after the events proved the nurse's safety concerns were valid. Let's talk about the system breakdowns here. First, we have investigations that protect the institution and not the patients. Some hospital investigations are designed to produce a conclusion that keep operations stable. Drop a stethoscope if you know what I'm talking about. And this is even when evidence exists. 2 is retaliation through paperwork and status. Hospitals do not always fire whistleblowers. Sometimes they block their rehire status. What does that mean? That means that if they leave, right, they can't come back. Sometimes they label you disruptive. Sometimes they isolate you until you leave. And 3, the leadership failure that matters most is silence. The most dangerous moment in this story isn't the threat. It's leadership watching a threat happen and choosing silence. Because silence is like permission. Safety culture is only real when it costs something. That's my 4th point. Hospitals love speaking up, campaigns. Yeah. But if speaking up threatens leadership's reputation, budgets, or liability, the response reveals the real culture. Silence. Let that sit for a minute. The quiet part out loud is this. In too many hospitals, the greatest offense isn't harming a patient. It's creating a record that proves the system failed. And that's why the nurse's life felt like a documentary. Not because the story is rare. No. I'm sure many of you out there have similar stories, but it's because there's a pattern. If you're a nurse with a story involving retaliation, unsafe staffing, mistakes, abusive families, or emotional trauma, you can submit anonymously to thebrokenshift@gmail.com. Remove identifying details, keep it factual, and protect yourself. Because if the system won't tell the truth, we will. Healthcare culture doesn't change when we ignore it. It changes when we're willing to examine it. This is The Broken Shift.